We never really got that Cybertruck update Elon was alluding to since November of last year, but we are getting little tidbits here and there, little clues, little Easter egg drops through his tweets that I do hope make it into the final product. And I have to say, out of all the little one-tweet responses Elon has provided, this one is probably the most fascinating. He confirmed in response to someone asking for some Cybertruck updates that they plan on having rear-wheel steering, which, to my knowledge, I don't believe any Tesla has actually ever had before, which makes sense because most of what they've done is sedans and SUVs and sports cars. But because the Cybertruck is so massive and it's such a large vehicle, it makes a lot of sense that Tesla would want to improve the turning radius for navigating through tight spaces and getting it to fit in very small parking lots. That's going to have to be a very common thing for the Cybertruck, sadly, because of how the supercharger network is currently built for much smaller vehicles, and I frankly struggle to imagine how so many Cybertrucks are going to supercharge at these pre-existing locations, because we know it's going to take a long time for all new superchargers to have wider stalls dedicated just for the trucks. But my next question that I pass on to the community that I would absolutely love to hear Elon dive into more detail about is how long they've had this on the schedule for the Cybertruck. Way back in the Q1 earnings call, Elon Musk said that the design was done, it's finalized, they're not tinkering with the Cybertruck design anymore, and right now it's just about mass production, ordering all the manufacturing pieces, and working on Giga Texas, and designing the assembly line for the Cybertruck. So I'm hoping that this rear-wheel steering option was not some last-minute thing they came up with in the past few months, because that would be evidence that Tesla is not really close to mass-producing the Cybertruck, and there's still actual design tweaks going on, and that would probably end up being a huge headache for the engineering department if they're maybe finding out about this announcement through Elon's tweet. Wait a minute, we're gonna have to add rear-wheel steering? I didn't know about this, wait, what? So I'm hoping that this has been the plan for a long time, and Elon just simply was hoping to announce it when the Cybertruck was ready, but because so many people were asking for updates, he figured he would drop some new information on us. But within that same tweet, he did also mention that the Cybertruck design is pretty much exactly what we've all seen, so don't expect any drastically different looking design tweaks from what we've already known, but he said that on multiple occasions now, that the production model is pretty much exactly what the prototype looks like, and the size is about the same, but simultaneously he keeps just casually dropping all of these game-changing features and design tweaks that we're not really sure how to feel about between the last one. Cybertruck won't have door handles, which in my opinion is a huge change to the prototype design, because he didn't exactly say what it will have. Will it have a button? Will it have a trackpad? Will you just kick the door open? And simultaneously, my biggest questions, and I would love to get a Cybertruck update. I don't need an event, I don't need a live stream. All I would really be happy with is just a tweet from Elon's Twitter account, or throw an updated Cybertruck picture in the shareholder deck at the next earnings call. Something small would be fine, just as long as we can get the updated design comfortable in people's minds, because the two biggest issues with the prototype that is still publicly known as, you know, the only Cybertruck design that's official from Tesla, is that prototype does not have windshield wipers or side view mirrors, and I think there's a lot of different potential designs they could go with, especially because the Cybertruck has that iconic, very flat, very flush front between the windshield and the hood. So if they're gonna tack on some big clunky windshield wiper in there, or they're gonna tether them to the sides to make the front more flat, I think people should know what it's going to look like sooner rather than later, so they can get comfortable with it and not find out about all of these major design tweaks like 2 days before deliveries begin. Or we'll just have to wait and find out when beta production models are driving around Texas, and we'll start noticing little differences here and there. But since the unveiling, they haven't updated any of the technical specifications on the website. So because Elon has alluded to the Cybertruck being slightly smaller than the prototype, I also think it would be a good idea to update those tech specs as soon as possible, in case they did compromise on the size of the bed, or the size of the interior, the height, the width, the length, where exactly that 3% is being shrunken down. I think it'd be better to tell people sooner rather than later. But of course, rear-wheel steering I think will be of great appreciation, because a lot of people seem to take issue with the Plaid Model S yoke that's just now hitting the market, and people don't like how much you have to turn that thing when you're in a tight parking lot and essentially making a 3-point turn. But if you had a tighter turning radius, then the yoke I think would not be as intolerable, because you wouldn't have to turn it as hard, and maybe Tesla is hearing about all of those yoke complaints with the new Model S and realizing realizing that the Cybertruck is going to be used more for work, so it makes sense to give it a tighter turning radius because it's not a performance vehicle that's meant to be driven on the track all the time. Although, tri-motor Cybertruck, yeah, it's going to be pretty insanely fast. Still safe to say, not really the same kind of track car that the Plaid Model S is. So if it's being intended more for work use, it makes sense for the turning radius to be tighter, and I do think that's an underrated feature that Tesla doesn't often prioritize. Of the couple times I've driven a Model 3 and the Model Y, the turning radius is okay, but when I test drove the VW ID4, my mind was absolutely blown when I made a U-turn at an intersection and I had plenty of room to turn even tighter if I needed to, and it just absolutely blew my mind how easy it was to make really, really tight turns in that vehicle. So I do think Tesla should bring tighter turning radiuses to more vehicles, and I don't really care terribly much about the crab mode that some people were speculating on, because the Hummer EV has rear wheel steering as well, and they have a feature where you can turn both the front wheels and the back wheels in the same direction and have the vehicle move diagonally, which isn't really necessarily that functional because you're not moving perpendicularly, so it wouldn't be that helpful for parallel parking. It's really just kind of a gimmicky show-off feature, but hey, Tesla likes those types of features, so if via software they want to enable the rear wheels to move in the same direction as the front wheels, they could just be like, hey, we have crab walk too. But honestly, if they didn't introduce that feature because they don't see it as very functional, or maybe it's just too problematic for the mechanics on the inside of the Cybertruck, I wouldn't be shocked at all, because I don't think that's a reason to buy a vehicle for most people. And the Cybertruck has escalated well over 1 million reservations without anybody knowing about the rear wheel steering. So now that we know about it, it probably isn't going to change people's minds. People who were in love with the Cybertruck and still excited to get one are going to be like, cool, okay, this is better than I thought. And the people who weren't interested in one probably aren't going to change their minds either. They're going to be like, rear wheel steer, oh, whatever, I don't care, it looks weird. Either way, I still think Tesla should just give us some type of new look at what the production model Cybertruck would be. Now knowing about all of these differences between no door handles, rear wheel steering, as well as somewhere they gotta fit side view mirrors and windshield wipers, because those are still legally required at this point. They can't avoid that yet. And because of how well Tesla Vision seems to be tested, I think we can safely assume the Cybertruck will likely not have radar either, because as vehicles without radar from Tesla keep getting tested, they seem to be just as safe as vehicles with radar, which helps Tesla save on cost. And as long as the Cybertruck is able to stay within the ballpark of their advertised listing prices, and we can actually get a 500+ mile EV, I'm super excited for it. I can't wait for it to come out. So even these tiny little updates like this actually get me really, really excited, because this is my dream vehicle. This is, in my opinion, the coolest vehicle Tesla has ever made, and knowing that we could be a year or less away from it driving around on city streets really gets me pumped. So let me know what you guys think of the Cybertruck getting rear wheel steering. What other features do you hope Tesla prioritizes with it? Would you like a Cybertruck update image for Tesla to share, or do you think it makes sense for them to hide all of the updated features until just a month or two before release? Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.